This episode and this chapter in the book is a go deeper. That's when we take a chance to go a little bit deeper, look into some of my blog posts and things like that, and see if there might be some story or lesson to be learned um, from the previous chapter and the previous reflections on reality section. So this one was one I wrote a while ago, and it's called Lift the Needle on the Broken Record in Your Head. And so it follows that theme of the chatterbox. It follows that theme of Sergeant Stunad and how to kind of break some of those patterns and create new soundtracks. And so the quote at the beginning of this one is, "Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy." The lyric lifted out of the Eagles songbook. Much later in life than the night under the tattered sheets, I received an extraordinary gift. When my sons, in their teen years, took an interest in my music, and they still play DJ for me when we go on road trips, and I love that. And so much of the music I loved as a kid pops up, and it just brings me so much joy. And you can imagine that I was thrilled when one Christmas my youngest son turned in his Christmas list. And as I read it, I learned that instead of asking for, a new mattress or a mosquito net that I might have at his age, he wanted multiple vinyl 80s classics and a turntable, a record player. Just before that, I was talking to him a little bit about records and about vinyl. And I was trying to explain to him what happens with scratched and worn records. And I said, son, when they get a scratch, they're going to repeat. They're going to skip, what's called skip. And they can make a really awful, mind-shattering noise, especially when you don't treat that record right. So it's important that when you get records, sometime here, Christmas coming up, that you treat them well, that you don't get scratches all over them, because they will lose track of where they are. And so in the same way, a scratch groove that takes us down the wrong path is as accurate as our minds, as that wax disc. Our memories, thought patterns, and habits are not unlike the tracks on a record. Pain, heartache, and disappointment are like the scars and scratches across the grooves on an old album. If we don't take care or treat our minds right, if we don't wipe the dust off of them, if we don't gingerly place the needle down, we get worn, marred, and torn valleys that we can't easily escape, like that needle that gets stuck. Perhaps more importantly than avoiding the creation of those scratches, we too often forget to pick the needle up when it gets stuck and starts repeating. As I told my son, a stuck needle makes an awful noise, and if we're not careful, we can find ourselves listening to the same lyric on repeat, just like a broken record. When our minds are new and scratch-free, they play the song they're meant to play, the pure lyrics that were stamped on them as they were created. So like the songs that Colonel O'Truth wrote on my heart were not the out-of-tune scratch and screech of Sergeant Stunad's soundtrack. However, as we age and get hurt or scared, we tend to let the scratches accumulate. We start forming thought patterns that are toxic to ourselves and others. We get caught in a dilemma. We repeat ourselves until what was once a beautiful, soulful, or flat-out kick-ass song is ruined. So like some of us who collect our old records with our album covers sporting roughed up and worn corners, we love to cling to what's familiar and nostalgic. We sit on the bed, we hold them, we study them, we put them on the shelf and admire them. We take them out and play them, even though we know they'll skip or scratch. So much like this urge to play our old records and hug our old albums, we cling to our youth's struggles, hurts, and unhealthy patterns. We've convinced ourselves there is no escape. Inherently, you probably know that this is not how we are all at our best. You probably know this is not the music we were designed to make. It doesn't have to be this way. We have a choice. We can move to the next track. We can even change the record. We can even ask for help along the way. And so, what is this called when we kind of get stuck on skip in our minds and we keep going over it and over it? It's recursive self-focused thinking, rumination. It's associated with the worsening of negative mood states. And when we ruminate, we let the scratches on our records interfere with the quality of our song. We forget to pick up the needle when it gets stuck on the same lyric. And this can be a vicious cycle of negative thinking. Research has shown that positive thinking helps us break that cycle. It means we approach unpleasantness more positively and productively. We think the best is going to happen, not the worst. By doing so, we can play the song we were meant to play. Changing our thinking isn't easy, but it's possible with practice and guidance. You can use things like prayer, mindfulness, meditation, affirmations, gratitude, even cognitive behavioral therapy and social support. Those can all help us change our thinking. So again, what I want to ask you is, what are the broken records and soundtracks in your psyche? Where do you need to lift the needle? Or maybe it's time to go to the record store or Amazon and get a shiny new record and play that one on repeat. So try some new tactics to lift the needle on your rumination. Before you know it, your new soundtrack will change from something like My Mosquitos and Bite Me More to Tell Me More, and perhaps you'll spend your summer nights and all the rest of your nights and days having a blast. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll be back with another character portrait in the next episode.